Hello and welcome to Confessions of a Counselor. I'm your host, Janice, and in today's episode, I thought we would talk about self care when we are looking for feedback. So, this is when we've perhaps had a conflict, we are unsure about something that's happening, and so we are looking to gain insight into what's happening. And then perhaps we're feeling a bit triggered or overwhelmed when we're looking for that feedback. And so, how do I take care of myself in that situation? Okay, let's jump right in. So, when it comes to self care, when we know that we get overwhelmed with feedback, right? So, feedback is something that's really hard for a lot of people. It can feel really uncomfortable to hear someone share their insights on how they think about us or how they feel about us, or perhaps not even us as a person, but perhaps in the workplace on our what we're producing or what we're sharing with them. So feedback is something that we definitely need to get used to accepting. And there's a couple of different ways that we want to acknowledge or accept feedback. Right? So the first one is, who am I receiving feedback from? Right? Who is giving this feedback? And do I want to place weight on the feedback that they're giving me? So I kind of talk about this in terms of um, like a circle, right? So the closer we get to the center of the circle, the more meaning and impact I'm going to give that person's feedback. And the further we get out from the center of that circle, the less impact I'm going to give that feedback. So people who are in the center of that feedback circle are friends and family and loved ones. So those people that we really care about, those people that are so, so, so important to us, we're going to give them the highest regard in terms of feedback. As we get further out, this might be coworkers, bosses, people that we know in our day-to-day lives, right? And then, we kind of go further out and into strangers, people we don't know, people who we're just running into, right? And we're going to give those people on the outside of that circle very little power over the feedback that they give us. So when we're giving feedback, I think the first thing we need to do is, do I want to give this person um, power to give me feedback, right? Like, is this feedback valuable to me? Does this person know me and care about me? And or is this, like, a work situation where I kind of need to acknowledge what they have to say? Um, so once we decide that, then we're going to acknowledge that I don't have to accept all of the feedback that someone gives me, right? You know yourself best. You know what's important to you. So we don't have to, just because we accept the feedback doesn't mean that all of the feedback has to be accurate. So we're going to kind of go through like a bodyguard type situation. So kind of imagining that there's someone there who's going to take on the feedback. They're going to acknowledge, accept the feedback as it is. And then they're going to kind of peruse it, right? They're going to decide whether or not I'm going to let this feedback impact me, right? So perhaps even it is a loved one who's giving us this feedback, but they're really mad at us. Or perhaps there's, something that's kind of preventing them from acknowledging our point of view, right? So I might take their feedback, right? They're upset, and acknowledge their experience of it, but it doesn't mean that I necessarily need to take their feedback. Or perhaps we're having an argument with a partner and they're having a really bad day and they've started to criticize or name call us, right? I don't need to take on that feedback. That feedback's not helpful. But I can acknowledge, oh, my partner's feeling upset today, right? So just because we're taking on feedback doesn't mean I need to take all of it. Or there's cases where, someone on the bus calls us a name and we don't need to acknowledge that, right? Or we're in traffic and someone flips us off, right? I don't need to take that feedback. That feedback isn't relevant to how I'm feeling. Um, so in these cases where I'm accepting feedback, I'm acknowledging it, but then I'm kind of getting out of my window, then I want to make sure that I'm very grounded, right? How do I get back into my window? So this is kind of the skills that I want to talk about today. Um, so, can I find my center? Can I find where I'm grounded by taking those couple of deep breaths, by getting myself centered, by asking for a break if I'm receiving feedback, for asking for clarification, right? If someone's giving me feedback and I don't understand, I can ask for clarifying questions, right? Do you mean this? About the feedback that you're giving. So, all of these different tools that we've been talking about in terms of getting myself grounded, coming back into my window, we're going to use those in the situation, right? So, outside of the situation, I'm going to make sure that I know, is this feedback that I want to receive? And then once I get into the situation and perhaps I get knocked out of my window, then I'm going to start to use my grounding skills. I'm going to start to use those skills that I know that are going to help me to get back within my window and ask those clarifying questions and um, try to have as much as understanding as I can from this person um, so that they know that I'm listening to that feedback. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. Until next time, take care.